Okay. Normally, I would start this with, today on Let's Talk FGO, but we're not doing that. Instead, I guess what I should do is, because this is technically News Desk, I should reawaken everybody and do bottom. I just make the News Desk noise with my mouth. But that's fine. That's fine, chat. Yes, oops, all Omega. How's the sound balance, by the way? I've got my desktop audio boosted a little bit to make that part more audibular, but YouTube is, like, dialed way down. And obviously I'm speaking well enough over it, but it's loud in my ears. But alright, hi. Hello, we're here. It's News Desk. It's not Let's Talk FGO. Okay. Thank you. It's glad it's working. Yes, I've pulled up one of my favorite, FGO OST best ofs. By the way, OST, I don't know, 7's out? That's cool. 6 is out in English. Don't remember if we talked about that or not. Anyway, hello. I'll prefacify this, and we'll sorry, I'm just staring at my scene in OBS, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to remember Tuesday and or Wednesday to switch that, but it should be correct. Is chat hidden? There we go. Chat took a second to load in. Okay, there we go. Hi. Show notes and stuff. Actually, I can say show notes and shit. Who cares? Anyway, so to let everybody know what's going on. You guys have cycled in. We're letting everybody know what's up. So, Lucky and I were both not feeling great Friday. I was very tired. I've honestly been tired a lot through the week. It's picking up a little. It's picking up a little. But we both. I've been very tired through the week, and Lucky been complaining of an ailment earlier in the week. So we were both too tired, and I figured, okay, well, we'll let it go. It'll give me the time to make sure I'm done with the event and caught up and stuff. Let a little bit of the new news filter out. And so we pushed it off. Today, Lucky is still not feeling great. He's having an issue where he should not be sitting up so much. And I will probably recap this a couple times throughout the night. But normally, recording Let's Talk FGO is a process that takes usually between 2 to 4 hours. So if he's not supposed to be sitting in the computer chair, for whichever, actual factual part of his anatomy is bothered by that process, God knows, Chad, I've fucked up my wrist and elbow and fingers typing enough in the history of this show to understand. But however that is, it's not good. Actually, there's a couple times where my upper back and lower back have been fucked up trying to do the show too. Comes from lifting. So, he's not down to clown, because the episode is going to be long if we did it normally. So instead, we're not doing it normally. We're going to do News Desk, which is kind of what the News Desk was supposed to be for, but then people didn't watch News Desk as much, so doing, breaking news updates was less important, but we're back. It's Oops All Omega. Lucky may or may not lurk in chat. I don't know if he has the desire to pull it up on his phone or not. Anyway, we're going to run you through a couple of stuff to keep you off the backlog. Yes, we are winging it. Because tonight, sometime, technically tomorrow, calendar date, but it'll be tonight sometime, FGO's 10th anniversary panel will go off. It'll be a big deal. There'll be oodles and oodles of news, and that will probably be the major focus of what we talk about next week. Not to mention, we may get an announcement for the Wandajina event as well. That'll probably mean I have to do a pregame for that next week. So next week's show's going to be very busy. So I wanted to clear out the backlog and it'll catch you up on stuff. Just to remind everybody, we're doing this live, so I may or may not have to repeat some stuff. Chat, you may or may not have to help me out and catch some questions in the chat as well. If anybody asks about stuff I've already talked about. But no mailbag. Mailbag is Lucky's baby. So in the event that we're doing an Oops All Omega segment, I do not steal mailbag. That's not my beeswax. We should be able to catch up on it next week. So we won't do that. But we'll talk about some stuff. I'll catch you up on some news. I'll run through a couple of segments. You can see some stuff on screen that you probably want me to talk about. And we can do kind of sort of final thoughts on the summer event. I would like to get Lucky's opinion as well on that, and we'll see if we can quiz him. But also, then it'll have been like an extra week since he's finished, so we'll see what stuff Lucky remembers since we weren't really writing things down. There are a couple specific questions I have for him that I will try and remember in a week to get a little bit of input on. And, you know, if you haven't submitted a mailbag question, if you want to throw that in a mailbag later. Sorry, that's me talking to my bottle of water. Everybody remember to hydrate. It's very important for you, chat. I can do my sound cue at least for pro tips. Technically, I should also say, well, this is being live streamed normally on the channel, and I am not, I repeat, not recording the back end of this for Patreon. We're streaming. Honestly, depending on how long it takes me to kind of, you know, jaw with you guys about summer and stuff and catch everybody up. And discuss some new stuff, because like I said, there was staff talk and there were a couple of panels. I'm set up to also stream Final Fantasy 14 PVP, because I have been working on my PvP ladder all day, and we'll probably go back to working on my PvP ladder. We're at like level 23 out of 25 we need by Tuesday, before it becomes Tuesday technically, so we've only got a few days to solve that one. But so I'm not recording the audio of this. Well, this will not go in the normal podcast feed. There will not be an audio for Patreon. That said, I do still want to shout out our patrons while I've got you as a live captive audience. GIF of me seizing you. Normally, episodes of Let's Talk FGO are brought to you by our lovely patrons. All of them, but especially Adam DeHart, Blacklist OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos Dragon, JDV9000, Kristari, Legendary Boss Hunter, Rise of Kenji, Rogram and Trevor, and Varian the Crow. Thank you much for your support, patrons. It's a new month. It's a great time to support the Patreon. Patrons get the audio of every episode of Let's Talk FGO and every audio thing we do at the lowest level, $1 a month, $10 a year-ish. There's a little bit of change involved. There's a discount for annual memberships. At higher levels, you can get video releases like Wanted early. There will be a Wandgina Wanted. That's the word I'm looking for. At some point, also you can vote in topic polls. Fail Portrayal is up. I have not yet had time to do the Fanservice Friday new poll, but there will be a poll this month. I just need to take a second to think about it, but we've had a couple of days that have been busy. So, yeah. I hope your back feels better. And listen, I won't guilt trip you guys much, but as I usually do, make sure to proffer your well wishes to Lucky either in the live chat or in our Discord. Link should be in the video description. And if your you know well wishes come with monetary rewards, you know, I would say no to that. Lucky won't say no to that. But yes, thank you, patrons. Oh, and at the $10 up level, I should say, you can listen to us record Let's Talk FGO live every week. Every single week we record Let's Talk FGO live. But this isn't Let's Talk FGO normally. This is News Desk. This is not podcast. This is News Desk. Let me see if you guys can hear my mash button over that, because I think we've done all the introducey type stuff. So let's run through pro tips and start chewing a few things out of our regular show backlog.
Senpai, 起きてください.
And assuming you could hear that over the music cues, let me adjust that down a skosh. That was the cue for Wake the Fuck Up Sam Ferguson for pro tips. I actually have a pro tip this week, which is why it's part of the great News Desk debackloggening, which is it's August now. There's new items. August items are here. August items are giant rings, octuplet crystals, shells, small bells, and proofs. So many of you, I'm sure, will appreciate these shells. I need some of that small bell energy. But we got some stuff going on. So yay. Alright, I'm glad it worked. You know, sometimes depending on who's broadcasting what on the live, I can't do the sound inserts. But we like them. They're cute. So yes, that's your pro tip. Many, many items. Many big item. Get item. Get item. Yeah, the shells and bells are very popular, though obviously you might need octuplet crystals, proofs. Actually, shit, hold on, let me... We might get a little fast and loose with some stuff here, chat. There are some visual things gripped from the staff talk stream they did. So let me see if we got a cutout. Yes. Okay. We do have an image. Hold on. We're gonna beta test how easily OBS likes it if I grab an image directly from. Okay, so we can't control V. Can I drag into OBS? Okay. Sorry, my computer does not like the experimenting I'm doing. Nah, it doesn't. No, it doesn't display correctly. Okay. Sorry, OBS interprets that as a source. All right. Okay. I may need to save some of these later to pull them up on screen. Because, like I said, staff talk is always usually very fun. They show a lot of stuff. The slide I was trying to grab was the top 5 items Masters run out of. Hero Proofs is on there. That's one that doesn't get me because I've been playing this game since the launch, and I still think I have like 500 of those fuckers in the back. But Bones, Hearts, and Phoenix Feathers were very premium at the start, and so if you're rolling any Old Servant or premium, number 3 was QP, everybody. So, yeah. It's a time. It's a time, chat. But let's move on. I know you want to hear about it. You've seen it on screen long enough, I'm sure. But we can do Records from the Throne. You can read Lucky's, and in a week, I'm sure he'll read it back to you again. But mine is, last night, after we determined we weren't recording, I popped the planned 80-pack. I talked about that. That'll probably be my entire gaming budget for the month of August. Already blown. But we're here. We spent the 80-pack. It was a hell of a time. It was very oddball. So, we started on like the first or second 10 spin with a Nightingale Spook. So we did get an SSR. It was not either of the banner ones. So cool, great. I didn't have Nightingale yet, so that's nice. That's another one scratched off the permanent list there. But we did spend enough on banner number 2. We got NP1 Bargast and NP2 Kermiko all on the same roll. That's right, all 3 of those things, same roll. They were hiding all the 4-star servants for me. I'm pretty sure I have a full collection of all CEs also, by the way. We switched back to Banner 1. I did manage to scavenge NP2 Suzuka, Summer Suzuka. Bakatoria has eluded us for the moment. It's sad, but, you know, we've spent our planned budget for the month. So, we will figure it out. But that's all planned to work on. Event Stories complete also. Did that yesterday. Got Nox Smile protected. She's max level. Also, I didn't actually write this down yet, but in the, 30-minute gap while I was setting up stream to do this, we've also, max level and ascensioned Summer Bargast and Summer Babo. We're just working on the final EXPs for, I ran out of monthly EXPs, chat, so we're working on farming currency to farm more EXPs so we can put Suzuka up there as well, but... all in all, can't be too upset. You know, it's always a shame when you feel the need to blow money, but it worked as it usually did, and I can't be upset with the ratios. Like, we got, you know, success in the score. And I would have taken some pictures, but again, I thought we were going to do the show like normal. So I could have taken some screen grabs and posted them. Because this man with Karna and Zhang, you to eat all my hero proofs. I already have Karna. Are his skills leveled up? I think they are. Listen, every day for like a year solid of this game, over a year, they gave you like a single hero proof until we started doing like rotating the materials for exchange tickets. So there's like, how many were there? It was it like 3 or 4 a week? It was a lot. It was a lot, chat. I have a lot of hero proofs still. I have not rolled a Zhang Yu, but we'll see. He is permanent. We might be spookled at any moment. But yeah, so Ascension-wise, rolls-wise, you know, everything went over pretty well. We're pretty good. You know, again, no Berserker Artoria caster. And obviously that means that we did not have any St. Courts left over to take cracks at the Tezcatlipoca or Oberon banners at all. But considering how summer usually goes for me, 180 to secure one copy of everybody but one of the 5 stars is okay. And you know, we did get Ash/Summer Morgan, so I have managed to dodge Brunhilde, but I'm sure if I did get her, she would completely obliterate my proofs. God knows, what do you know? They'll release another in-demand servant upcoming that'll need a lot of hero proofs. Anyway, no evils I think in the score other than obviously Lucky not feeling well, so he's not doing the show normally. But that means we can run through Did You Finish Your Master Missions? Another thing to scratch off the backlog list. I mean, you probably did them. You probably did all these right here. But in case you didn't, this week you're supposed to be performing 30 FP summons, defeat 3 each of good, balanced, and evil servants, and then defeat 20 enemies who aren't servants or certain story bosses, and then defeat 40 enemies which are not certain servants or story bosses. Normally, I would phrase this as do the event, but this is truly do anything. Please do the event, and if you've already done the event, do anything, man. Sorry, got it from HQ for a second to grab my phone. It's fully charged. So we can keep working on that. But that means let us do the thing, you know, you want us to do. We're gonna fire on through. Alright. Yeah, we're pretty locked in. So, the news. First of all, to keep you all abreast in EN, I'm sure you do already be knowing. But just to remind everybody, it is now, you know, the last week of the summer event, so it is time for the rerun banners. So, we're back at Dinosaur Story was my original joke. We've got Leavital and Gareth, Ibuki Erise, and Summer Scotty, Summer Woo banners. Plus, all the CEs are back. Those will be rotating for a few days. Giving you a few stuff to do. Also, technically, Chad, I got an exchange ticket. Technically, I'm lying. I only have 420 hero proofs. So I have actually chewed through my backlog a little, but I still have a fuck ton. Let me actually mute the Discord so that I'm not juggling like 4,000 things. But technically, I put this under the Fate Granted or Servant Art Chronicle note, but this is encompassing a couple of different things in the pre-release to the 10th anniversary happening tonight. So first of all, they're doing a thing called the Fate Granted or Servant Art Chronicle. There's an art display. There might be a book, but basically they've got a big display of like, some of these are like 3D art, textured art of the Final Ascensions at the FGO Fez. To celebrate it in the FGO app, there is a commemorative CE, a commemorative craft essence, if you will. Y'all know we love craft essences. But they also got a few things. First of all the memorial quests and CE tickets are out. And, chat, they were listening to us. There are more. There are 10 tickets this year in JP. 10 tickets for 10 years. Works out. Also, format-wise, they made it make sense. But so the way it functions is you have one CE exchange ticket for each class, extra 1 and 2, encompassing your extra classes again, and one all ticket. So yes, you can make 7 picks for the commemorative craft essences this year in FGO, the 10th year. when that comes out to English as well. I presume it will go that way. So that's nice. That's good. That still has an aspect of picking, which I think they wanted to retain rather than just, kind of like farm it for money. But does give you a few more options, which would be good. Also, they already rolled out one quality of life update. Some people kind of clowned on this, I want to say, but I think it's good. Like, it's just... Lucky and I have talked about this at length, but to shorten that conversation down, it's a miracle FGO has lasted 10 years. I think I saw a tweet on the 30th, which was actually marking the 10-year anniversary, that there are, like, 4 gacha phone games that have cleared 10 years. So, like, the fact that FGO is still here at all is a miracle. And so it means that, like, dev time and priorities are making some things not, the highest in there. But what they've added is that when you get super or great success, your QP and your EXP overflow will be refunded to you. So if you got a success, which would have pushed you over the edge, the EXP you didn't need to spend if you overspent, EXP and QP will be refunded to you, which is a great feature. I'm super excited. Hopefully that is something they can give to us early over here. Like, I could see that being at our 9th anniversary next year, for instance, kind of a thing. But, it is one of those things. Also, they have the autofill buttons for leveling your craft essences, which is a welcome sight to get in there. So make sure it's on screen. Yeah. So that's cool. And this is where I left my note that the staff talk was happening. So, we might tack on some stuff here. They did actually have some interesting things. No, I won't go ham. Y'all can find the visual. I think I retweeted all of them, both on my account and on the Studio Omega account. By the way, Studio Omega is on Twitter. At Studio Omega YT, I believe. I think there's 2 O's. Anyway, Staff Talk did post a couple of interesting things. First of all, I think one of the funniest was most used servant every year, which was very, very funny. So, first of all, the original year, 2015, when FGO launched in Japan, Emiya, crazy, but he's got cool factors. I think he's always had his NP theme baked in too, so he's a great guy. For the next 3 years, Waver was king, 16, 17, 18. Scotty was the most used in 2019, which I can't even... God, that's so long ago. I can't even remember if that was her launch year, was 2019. Maybe it just took a while for Quick to proliferate. But yeah, Waver was your big option. And then every year since then, 20 through 24, Castoria. I know that they've done like new stuff to make, Buster more viable and to rejigger Quick. Castoria is the universal most popular button. Like that's the one that's been up there every year. So that shouldn't really shock anybody. But that was it. And then they also had, I believe they were, like, completely overall stats. Let's see, I screen capped all these. Yeah, so they had, like, every most used servant, like, of every rarity except 5. So most used 1 stars is, and this is overall 10 years. So there's a lot of, I think there's a lot, it's not complete recency bias, but there is a lot of slanting towards older servants here because they've been around longer. But for 1 stars, it was Asterios, Sasaki Kojiro, Regent, Savior of France, all that stuff. Yeah, I gotta remember. Spartacus. Number 2 is Bunyan. Number 1, Arash, baby. Classy. For 2 stars, number 5 was Billy Shakes. Number 4 was Cursed Arm. We really needed the Assassins chat. I can't believe how important Assassins were early game. Number 3, Georgios. Number 2, Chen Gong. So like I said, there's not complete recency bias here. There's usually a couple of newer servants in the list. Number 1 in the 2 slot, Anderson. Deserved. For 3 stars, and this one did surprise me a little that this is overall, but yeah, it's still a big deal. 3 stars, number 5, Urale. Number 4, Robin. Them Saber bosses, huh? Number 3, Kiyohime. Somewhere Law is very excited. Number 2, Cool Lancer. With number 1, Billy Bedivere. Big Betty. Yes, very surprised. Happy about it, though. But yeah, Bedivere was is the number 1 after 10 years most used 3-star servant. The people love Bedivere. And then 4-star, this is another one that's very funny to me. Says a lot. I would assume they probably didn't count welfares in this normally. But the most used 4-star servants is number 5, Tamamo Cat. Lucky was very happy about that. I was there. I can report this to you. Number 4, Nidocris. That actually think, by the way, Vanilla Nidocris, that's I believe that's actually a newer thing. There's a brief moment where, like, tier lists had Nidocris, regular caster Nidocris, I should say, as, like, S tier, tier 0, because the mobs in a couple of the most important nodes in LB1 had, like, super... I almost said super bad. Super good for you. They had very high chances of being affected by instant death, and they were assassins. So Nidocris cleared them super easily. So like, and as an art servant, she still I think has some potential in farming comps. Emiya is 3. That shouldn't shock anybody. Emiya, like I said, was the most used servant in the first year of the game, and he has had a big comeback when they made it so you can make his Noble Phantasm arts. But your number 2 and number 1 slot shouldn't surprise anybody. It's Berserker Lancelot and Herc. I'm a little surprised normal Lancelot didn't make this list, because I think he's permanent. I think he's the only knight of the round that's, like, actually that is. And everybody talks about, Saber Lancelot. Saberlot is, like, basically a pocket 5-star. His numbers are so cranked. But I talked about this last night. First of all, obviously, Berserker Lancelot, very important to the early Scotty Loop comps, was actually a super big deal. But also, even pre-Scotty, Lancelot's NP was such a killer, like that high, hit count and the damage output. He was just one of your classic 3-turn sweepers. If you had K-scopes or the right number of like charging servants, you absolutely used him plus wave clearers, Give him a K-scope or give him somebody with a battery, put a Rash in the front row to blow up a wave of enemies, and then, he sweeps in, and it's done so. Very classy. So, yeah, Staff Talk, like I said, had a lot of very funny things going on. Hold on, before I actually talk about the summer preview stuff, I'm going to mute up for a second and blow my nose. We may be playing it by ear, but that doesn't mean I need to blow my nose into the microphone, chat. But yeah, so like I said, lots of interesting stuff. But we did get our first news of the upcoming summer event, swimsuit event, I believe as we usually call it in Japanese. I didn't put a note here in the show notes, but I will speak to you. They did say that will be mid-August, so you're going to have, probably a week or 2 of the anniversary stuff before they run it out. But they showed Spiritron dresses, costumes. Your costumes upcoming are Kasku, Tez Katepoka, and Saito. I thought at first it might be Ku Alter because of the long hair, but no, it's Kasku because that makes the classic format 131415. Obviously, that's not perfect. We did get Blackbeard one year. That was super choice. We love that. But still, good picks. Absolutely fucking floored that it took this long for any coup to get a Summer Spiritron, but when you're only doing 3 a year, I guess you get backlogged. Saito's a great pick. He's very popular in Japan, and he's a cool boy, and Tez seems good. A lot of people are making a lot of guesses based on what the banners will be, and we did get some interesting news on that front, because they did actually show some brand new servants, some brand new summer alts. And that is, first of all, 4-star Summer Huyanzhou, and was clarified. She had a little special text to let you know she's going to be the welfare. She is the event servant for the upcoming event. Honestly, kind of well-deserved. Like, Huyan's interesting because I feel like her actual banner came in a really, like, I don't want to say problematic, but a really tough time in FGO. Like, that was I believe that was the Halloween gap before LB7. Yeah, it should have been last Halloween, I'm pretty sure. But obviously after, like, the big hitters of the summers that year, which involved 3 SSR banners. So, like, she's cool, but assassins are already super limited. There's so many of them that it was hard for her to stand out. But I think people really liked her character, and speaking of stuff we're going to be talking about a little bit later, I think she had a really great showing in this summer event in Summer Servant Fest 2. So giving her a swimsuit variant is pretty cool, and making her the welfare is interesting. So that means that she's probably going to be, you know, kind of star of the show type stuff. Though maybe not, you know, Yarandu was kind of... she's still a major character, but, you know, she kind of, like, phases in and out of the focal point. But the banners we got shown then were SR, Summer Kremhild, crazy, by the way. I think I tweeted about this in the middle of the night. Fucking nuts. Absolutely insane. Maybe I'll have better luck with the swimsuit one than the normal one. But Takeuchi was defeated. Our SSR is going to be Passion Lip. Her design has a slimmy slight update from what appeared as like a costume last year. And we only see one Ascension in the preview. You know, with like showing her NP video and stuff. But yeah, it's Passion Lip, yay. Yeah, Summer Krem's crazy good looking. I think immediately everyone cottoned on to the fact that she's got a belly piercing. She's very goth, Chad. It's pretty natural. But yeah, so the only banner servants we've been shown is one SSR and one SR, and while they are very good, this obviously makes us wonder: are we going back to 3 SSRs? Basically 3 total SRs instead of 4, and 3 total SSRs. We might be back on that format. I know we've had a couple of years where we've had, you know, secret summer servants. We might still do that, but I think we won't. You know, there's a lot of anticipation. It is the 10th anniversary. A lot of people are straight up predicting, multiple, like, anniversary servants again as well. Like, we reckon with 10 years, it's going to be a big deal. We'll find out tonight, obviously, and you'll be able to get full details, including, like, their stats and stuff when I do a full breakdown next week. You know, be sure to be in our Discord or following, you know, somebody on Twitter, because we'll be yelling and screaming about it, I'm sure. But there's a lot going on there that could make 3 summer SSRs believable if it is actually out there, because, like, there's a lot of signs of a lot of things, all right? And let me actually, hold on. Because there's, like, did I retweet grab it? I don't think I did. Let me risk a fucking query search. There it is. Okay, right at the top. So, the polling predictions, or the polling desires for who's going to be the 10th anniversary servant. For some fucking reason, I don't know if this is like selection biased, but a lot of people are still suspecting Abe no Seimei. Again, that guy doesn't... not that I would be shocked if it happens, but that guy doesn't even have a design in this game. Galahad is the number 2 prediction. Very high. Kamazatz is also very high. And then obviously you've got Madam President coming back is another strong prediction. Though again, a lot of people assume she'll be a free unit somehow. Again, we'll see how that plays out. And then obviously the regular predictions for some combination of either Gaetia or Solomon coming back is pretty strong. Also, I'm shocked Twitter, when I searched that tweet, knew which one I was referencing. Thank you, the Twitters. Yeah, Protogale, I think, has been fucking... What's the word for it? Data mined for about 1 million years. Still hasn't shown up along with either Perseus. We'll see if they actually scratch that one off. We are finally getting more strange fakes, so maybe that'll happen. My stream preview's behind. That's why I'm like, is the text correct? But yeah, so if none of those seem like secret summer servants, so I would suspect a Cleese. We're going back to having the extra numbers of summer servants because, you know, we're trying to scratch a few things off the bingo list. I'm going to say I think FGO is in a really interesting state, like I've said before. I'm pretty sure we're telegraphing pretty hard that we're not going to, like, blow up the servers at, like, midnight when it becomes 2026. Like, the strong implication is that I'm pretty sure we're going to get to at least 11th anniversary and probably beyond. FGO Part 2 is ending, and Nasu is taking a deliberate step to step away from it. But the FGO app is not, like, exploding overnight. If you catch my drift. Like, there's still going to be more with the app, so they'll have a chance to run a couple more summer events and stuff. Like, people are already wondering about a Summer Lilith, so, you know, we'll see. That would be too soon for the normal rules. I think there is also, like, a decent case for a possible Summer Medea, because while her voice actress has unfortunately passed away, Medea and Carmilla, I believe, both have Over the Same Sky CEs, which have voice lines. So, it's possible that she was in the booth already for some stuff. Yeah, no, like Aniplex and Sony spent money on FGO, so they're not just gonna blow it up. Well, Lucky and I think correctly predict that, like, they have to be workshopping an FGO 2, like a new version of the app, just because while Living 10 Years is very venerable, there's a lot more cool, like, they're literally just did an update where if you overflow EXP and QP because of a greater super success, you get it refunded after 10 years. Like, this app's a little janky, Chad. It's a little janktonious. A little jonkular, if you will. So yeah, I would assume they're working on a sequel app, but, you know, we'll see. God, I think that was was that last week? Was it 2 weeks ago? I can't remember if we talked about the show or not. There was apparently a little bit of kerfuffle because Nasu said in some interviews and stuff. I think we did talk about this last week, but Nasu said in very plain words in some recent interviews that, like, FGO sucked up a lot of his time, and it meant that he wasn't working on some other Type Moon projects. And there are some Type Moon fans who fucking hate FGO. I would assume they're not here in the room right now in our semi-podcast live stream news update video thing about FGO. Getting close to the end of my bottle of water, Chad. I'm going to take an intermission in a second. But, you know, like, there is a contingent who kind of are like, man, I wished FGO never existed. I want to say for my next bit of news, I'm glad FGO exists, not only because I'm playing it literally right now, and honestly, it does have some of Nasu's best work in it. Like if you want, like, primo Nasu writing that is not, like, one of the OGs, FGO's got it. But also, they announced at a dedicated gaming panel. Oh, yeah, sorry, Chad, I'm just catching up on reading. Yes, my prediction is that there will be Summer Kukulkan. because Tez, people are kind of talking about how, like, the past costumes have gotten. You know. So, like, based on that, people are predicting on an LB7 servant. We already have Tenno. So, yeah, I'm like, that, if there is a pattern, because every time FGO players say there's a pattern, Lasengel does something different, but if there is a pattern, I would bet Cuckoo. She's very popular, as well. She got a CE and everything. Yes, we're talking about the 10th anniversary news we've gotten so far. We don't have the full panel stuff out yet, but yeah. But no, like I said, Nasu said in some recent interviews that, like, FG has been sucking up his time, and some people kind of rioted about that. But I think that, like I said, we would not be at the point we're at without FGO's extra money, certainly. You know, it's kind of carried itself. And one of those things that was... everybody kind of knew it would be happening. I for sure was like, they're absolutely going to say a date, and it's going to be not too far off. But yes, Fate Hollow Adex Remastered. What the fuck am I saying? The FHA Remaster is coming out August 7th, I believe. It says 7/7 actually in my notes. You can tell I'm getting real sloppy. I didn't proofread these before we go. That should be 8/7, chat. There you go. That's me. So yeah, in less than a week, it's coming out. I believe it is simultaneous release. It's coming out to Steam and Nintendo Switch. I once again kind of wish Lucky was here because we could jabber on a little bit about that. But yeah, it's really interesting. So again, despite the fact that historically Sony and Aniplex being a subsidiary of Sony Entertainment, have invested a lot in the FGO specific brand and done a lot of work with Fate stuff recently, even they're like, nah, man. Nintendo Switch and Steam. That's where people play visual novels. I would assume that Type Moon is still probably a little too small, and not cool enough that they've gotten like advanced Switch 2 features. But I believe every cart is backwards compatible, so you can also, you know, you can also release in Switch 2. And yes, Legendary, you said number one what I think the big thing is of, like, I mean, so to roll back a couple of steps you said there, yeah. First of all, the assumption is that if Nasu wasn't writing FGO all the time, he would have actually finished either the second half of Tsukihime. Never mind that I'm pretty sure that the first half came out during FGO as well anyway. Pretty sure the first half of the remake did. But, like, a lot of people are kind of are sad there's no news about Red Garden. And obviously Nasu has said that he's working on a straight-up sequel for Mahoyo. And people are like, oh, you know, if they'd done that, that would have come out. I'm pretty sure I said before, but in case I didn't, on one of our channel outlets, I saw some people on Twitter complaining, like, oh, it's such a shame that FGO has held up Fate Extra Record. No, it didn't. That did not happen. Extra Record got held up because they made a sub-studio to produce it. They spun off Studio BB, which is completely off on its own, literally doing its own thing. Nasu's a writer, guys. He's not the artist, and he's not a programmer. He you know, he writes things. I don't think he has to do a lot of writing for Extra Record. They need people to program it. They need people to dig up the PSP and files and change them. So, like, no, like, knowing how Nasu is, even if he didn't have FGO to work on, he would have just gotten distracted by other projects or by playing Elden Ring and Elden Ring Night Rain and maybe the Duskbloods when it comes out and shit like that. Like, he is kind of an I want to say almost like an auteur type creator, especially in, like, the visual novel sphere. He's out here just kind of doing his own thing, and he doesn't really feel the pressure. Like, so long as Type Moon makes money of some sort so that he and his buddy Takeuchi can, like, eat, they're fine. And he wants to write cool stuff. So, you know, they're working on that. But yeah, no, I think the critical thing is the second thing you said, Legendary, which is FGO is very important in letting Type Moon know they have a Western audience. The Western audience has always been there. We've never been super big, but obviously, you know, we don't Sorry, the music changed to something very emotional feeling, and I'm like, this is the risk when I put on compilations of FGO music in the background. I might become emotionally verklempt at any moment. But no, like, this let Type Moon know that they have a very solid Western audience and English-speaking audience who are interested in this kind of thing and are willing to be paying customers. So, you know, that has really, like, beefed up, I think. We've obviously gotten way better at, like, simulcasting anime. You know, obviously better about, you know, unified video game releases with, like, Samurai Remnant and shit like that. And obviously the remasters and re-releases internationally of Hollow Ataraxia and Fate Stay Night Remastered, like, that was, like, shit I wouldn't have dreamed of 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago when FGO came out. It was just like, you know, I would never have pictured a broad English release on fucking Steam, you know? So, like, yeah, no, FGO is really important. And like, it's been very important for Type Moon. I think it's really helped, like, put them on the map in terms of, like, really cool franchises. They got a fucking crossover with Honkai Star Rail. Do you know how much fucking money MiHoYo makes? Hi, Terrano. It's okay. We've news desking. We're kind of winding down. I'm just talking about some of the 10th news we've gotten so far. You know, the announcement of Hollow Ataraxia Remaster next week. I almost said next month. That's not correct. It's like next week. I knew this announcement would be coming, but it's a good deal. And, you know, hopefully, you know, people get out there and support it. Like I said, I've already blown my gaming budget for the month instantly. We already chewed through it. It's gone now. We're gonna have to see if I can afford Metal Gear Delta. But yeah, no. FGO is, like, really interesting, and, like, I personally think it's good for Nasu to step away. Like, Nasu was really hands-off from what I remember from interviews for, like, the first year or so of FGO, and then he kind of went like, okay, this project isn't working out like I'd like. I gotta step in. I gotta write some of this directly. I gotta kind of, like, start managing this project a little. And then he was kind of intermittently. And, like, honestly, I think most of us kind of expected Nasu would be more hands-off with FGO. I remember talking about, like, him, you know, blocking out the chapters. And then it was always a thing of, like, you know, he would write a chapter for Lost Belts and then leave and then be like, all right, I'm done with that. I'm not coming back. And then fucking 2 Lost Belts later, he's back. And it's like, Nasu, didn't you say you were taking a break from FGO? He kept coming back, man. But yeah, so Holiday X is coming. That's cool. I think we're still on the hook for some new news about that. I don't know. But I know that a few of you, I'm glad to see the concurrent numbers up. That's nice. I know a few of you will tune out real quick, but I do gotta step away for a second, refill my bottle of water. And then but after that, I want to talk about my feelings about summer event and stuff, and kind of jaw with you guys for a little bit. I would love LB animes, period, but we'll see. So I'm gonna. This is how you know that we're away, is we flicked up the gone fishing sign. Honestly, I'm a little surprised, but I'm not that surprised. We've been jawing for almost 50 minutes, so maybe I won't have to stream FF14 to kill time. I can just play PvP ladder on my own. But I'm gonna step away, like I said. I'm gonna mute my mic and refill my bottle of water. You'll know I'm back when the gone fishing sign goes down. I believe you with the music. And I'll be right back. And then I said, we'll talk about summer stuff. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves, chat. You can entertain yourself down there. I think you're even on screen mostly. So I'll be right back. chat. Let us banish the gone fishing sign. And put my headphones back on so I can hear what you guys are hearing. Damn. Sorry, once again, I'm back. I'm like, oh shit, it's one of those fucking emotional pieces. God, the soundtrack's so good. Though, funnily enough, they've actually talked to the composer. I think he did a run of interviews in, like, Type Moon Ace or something. I think I retweeted it, too. But apparently, it's Keita something. Haita? Haga? I forget his exact name. I could find it out really easy by Google searching, but I'm not gonna right now. You'll just know that I'm wrong, and you can fact-check it yourself. But he actually said that the hardest piece of music he's ever composed for FGO was Oberon's theme, Oberon's boss theme, The End. And that's, I kind of understand. Beautiful piece of music. Love that one to death. But that guy never quits. He has great bangers. So many of, like, the music from, like, LB7 and Paper Moon, I was like, oh, I've heard this track before, but I don't remember from. It's from the Dinosaur Summer event with Da Vinci. I'm just like, damn, that's really good music for a summer event. But yes, I'll avoid specific spoilers for a little bit. We may get some tangential stuff in there, but yeah, I'm done with the summer event to catch everybody up. We'll talk about that stuff. Oh, actually, I should respond to chat as well. Chat asked earlier if we're staying up to stream. We'll see. We'll see. Oftentimes I've done it. We'll see when exactly it is and what's going on. I like to be around. But if not, you know, it'll be there when I wake up. You know. Sleep is important, everybody. Sleep cures a lot of ails, and not sleeping really fucks you up, so remember to get some sleep. But like I said, I'll figure it out. I have been super tired myself lately. I talked about this earlier. Like, I don't know what it is, but I've been like very exhausted a lot. So we'll see about that. So it'll be like what, like 2 a.m. for me? What about Googling it? Well, that's true. You might have to worry about that, but that's specific enough that you could probably figure it out. Oh, I don't think I said I had a joke earlier I was gonna say when I came back. I was gonna say that my refreshment of choice today is the finest tap water. Yeah, it's 2:30. The finest tap water from a well through a whole house filter. But yeah, summer. To talk about a little bit. Like I said, we'll avoid specific spoilers for a little, but there'll probably be some general stuff. It's very interesting. I have a couple of questions I need to mentally hammer in here. Sorry, I wrapped on my forehead. I don't know if you guys picked that up on the mic. Probably not with the bed music. But like at one point, Lucky said that he predicted the twist, and I want to ask him like which part was it, like the complete or something in specific. But yes, this event's very interesting. I believe the way Lucky and I phrased this last week, that I still agree with is. This event is, like, properly, like, 3 whole separate, like, plot threads for summer. And literally at one point you take out a whiteboard and, like, put everything into it. So, step 1, there is the, I want to say, like, soft sequel stuff to Servant Summer Festival. Sorry, I burped there. Which is like, you know, Artoria the Great Detective and you come in late and you have to figure out, you know, who jacked this from BB and what that has to do with, like, the festival and stuff. You know, the indirect sequel things, which kind of leads into this being a setup for the Wanda Gina event later. Literally, our next limited time event will be the one about her. So, like, a very interesting state where, you know, you've got some stuff which is directly related to a previous event, but is much more to set up thematic ideas for a later sequence. You've got the parts of this that are, I want to say, like, straight up sequel to the Servant Summerfest, you know, like, directly talking about Servant Festival, seeing recurring characters like Blackbeard and Jolter take such a like, strong point for it, interacting with both new and old clubs, you know, kind of a thing. The Dojin club stuff is a whole separate line, which can be directly related to, ooh, this one's a banger, to the normalization committee and whatnot. And then there's the parts of this event which are a soft sequel to Lost Belt 6, which is, like, cool, but also parts of it feel kind of out of nowhere, and even in the main event are kind of like non sequiturs. Like, we actually use a little bit of the Ash Spirit origin in this for, like, a handful of lines of dialogue and then move on. I'm just like, okay, all right, sure. But, like, obviously with the three Tamlin being major characters, you know, and Morgan effectively as well, using her extra special swimsuit extension, like, you know, you've got that as a direct element as well. But you also have, like I said, like, indirect sequel stuff, because the actual three named Knights of the Round are rattling around in their summer costumes, because that is a follow-up to previous summer years, you know, Summer Festival, and also arguably a follow-up to Vegas as well. You know, but all in all, this event's really great. Yeah, no, there's the Australia stuff. I do like that we twist the names, but yeah. There's like a lot of crossover, a lot of focus, and a lot of interaction. I do like that, like, again, we're talking about minor spoilers now, but slight spoilers, you know. But thematically, like, yeah, the kangaroos is a dead giveaway when that happens, and you're just like, okay, all right, something's not right here. But, you know, instead of Luluwaha, the what did the actual say it was? It was supposed to be Hawastria or Hawalia, like the very end of Australia. But then they were like, what if we did Hawalatria? Hawalatoria. Too many Wawas. But yeah, so, like, there's obviously some stuff going on. But like I said, there are both direct and indirect. Yeah, the name got extended to Hawatralia, but it was like there was a line of dialogue that it used to be very short, Hawastralia to Hawaltria, which would have been more of like Artoria, or just Hawatoria, I wonder, in the original Japanese. But, like, it's multi-level marketing of puns. You know, actually, there's a couple of vowels that are the same. There's a couple of vowels that are linked up. But yeah, we excuse me. We use we use all of our elements very well together, because obviously we also do have some, like, new stuff as well, you know. Like I said, the Dojin circles come back, but they come back in really interesting ways. You know, we don't actually work with any of our direct focuses in there. I gotta double check. I might have to reread, but I'm pretty sure Jolter. I don't think Jolter and crew, like, her segment, work on a Dojin directly, but she contributes some extra aspects. But we do have, you know, brand new clubs, which are all very funny in their own way. You know, the doctor team, you know, wanting to make medical manga, being very interesting and not, you know, crazy out of the realm for Dojins and stuff. And then I'm pretty sure their second Dojin is just Blackjack. I'm pretty sure. Also, shout out to Zhanga Yu, Old Man Yellow Turban. Yeah, Cells at Work is a great example of the kind of vibes they're going for. But like, Yellow Turban Man is like, he's a great addition to that team. He's not a doctor, but he's close enough. Caldea Gamers obviously had a lot of really cool notes there, on what kind of games they like and stuff like that. Many out there. I know, and again, I'll see if Lucky remembers this. I know Lucky before wanted to object that it's Altria Crafts and not, like, it seemed more Terraria-y. I think Lucky stopped playing Minecraft when they added the what's his face, the Watcher in the Water, because that guy is just an eyeball fish that's green. Well, I normally associate eyeballs correctly with Terraria. No, that is actually like a Minecraft thing now. Not to mention, these fucking Minecraft jokes are at least 2 years old. Probably older. But no, that was a really cute nod, ghosts and goblins and stuff like that. And then the gag of stopping Tomoe, which, like, honestly, that's probably original to the Japanese. We talked about this a little last week, I think, or maybe it was on a stream earlier this week. But the copyright rules in Japan are really weird. They don't have, like, a legally enshrined idea of fair use. So, the way it works over there is kind of like, hear no evil, see no evil. So, making doujins and fan works is okay if they're for a like, fan work perspective, for a fandom perspective. But, like, technically as a commercial product, like, they would be skirting the lines by just straight up saying the name of some of these video games. So it is very funny. But no, the second segment where you had to, like, fight everybody to get them to remember physically the most FGO thing ever. All of their favorite video games was very funny, Some of the girls liking dating sims. Fucking Ushiwaka and Kagekiyo, like, being fans of idol games. Very funny. I appreciate that very greatly. Like, that's a real good grab. Ibaraki likes Minecraft, of course. It's very funny. But no, those were all like really fun, really cool gags and references, and appropriate. I'm kind of surprised we didn't work in any extras, but I guess there are limits to how many people. Like, genuinely, I'm pretty surprised. I'm genuinely surprised that, like, Medusa didn't show up in that, like, talking about not Elden Ring or not Bloodborne or something. Like, I don't think there were any Soulsborne references in that, which is very shocking because Nasu wrote this event, and I know Nasu loves Soulsborns and Souls-likes. I don't remember any lines about that, so yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that is kind of the point of Kagekiyo. They do kind of mention that, like Tomoe has a hard time figuring out how to feel about Kagekiyo because she's got Yoshitsune's face, but also she's like a bunch of different Taira wearing the name of Kagekiyo. So, like, as an Avenger, Kagekiyo is a composite character, so it's like she's not going to be one person at all times. And that's something that I think FGO is usually pretty good about, but can be harder for the audience to grasp, is that, like, characters can be very oddball and multifaceted. I mean, this happens in Fate all the time. How many people, see, like, the Heavensfield movies or play the Heavensfield route and are just like, oh, this creepy-ass cursed arm guy. And then I'm out here being like, that's my uncle. He gave me a cool multi-purpose cloth one year. That was rad. That shit was rad. Love that guy. Yeah, it is. I mean, and Tomoe talks about this because she's like, oh, but I love all the genres. Like, I love VR, but I love FPS games. Also, fucking wild shout out to, I think it was Chapter Master of all things. She was like, Space Marine 4X games. Could also be like a Stellaris dig, but, like, she likes a lot of different video games. I think she may even have talked about, like, action games in there. But no, she got her start in her gamer arc with VR, so it makes sense to return to VR. Very, very good stuff. So that was all super fun. I'm trying to remember all of my Dojin circles all at once. I mean, Clothiers, obviously, that was really rad. Legendary, you said this earlier in chat, but I super agree. I already kind of liked him for his point, but this was a really good attempt for, I assume, Nasu's first crack at writing young Moriarty as well. Like, to see him show up as his hyper-competent self was really interesting. And, like, he's still fucking bullshit, but, you know, he's trying his best, and he's just like, everything is proceeding as I have planned. That was really great, grabbing Mordred. Fucking Moriarty's my goat. He's like, no, Mordred, here's what you need to do. You're going to get Miss Crane. You got to give her the Cabedon. And then just Miss Crane's a perfect fit for this event. Miss Crane was a character fucking tailor-made, pun intended, for this. Like, she's such a great fit for a Servant Fez. I am so glad we remembered to include her. Well, yeah, that's another thing I want to say. I honestly kind of thought the stuff with Bishonen was a little weird to me sometimes. Like, I wasn't quite sure about the vibe. Because, like, we had just Oe, but we had Bakken and Omichi be separate, even though they used the exact same sprite. And it was, like, that was interesting. But I do think it was a good moment for Super Bunyan. Like, she actually got to, like, have a little bit of agency and be part of it. And I think it was a better way to show off her kind of, like, self-deprecating nature. Because that was kind of the focus of her event, but also I feel like Super Bunyan was almost like her own worst enemy in her own event, kind of a thing. So, like, this was a good character thing to go in there. Like, you know, I mean, the streaming part is part of her angle, and I think that worked with kind of, like, the gag of Bishonen about, like, oh, you know, we could redo the Hakenden, but is there any market for that kind of a thing? Like, I almost feel like that's a very deep-cutting commentary about FGO itself, because, like, Fate and FGO references all of these old-ass classic works, and then it's kind of like, oh, is there any value in retelling something? And it's like, no, actually there is. There is absolutely something, because, like, FGO causes shit like Dante's Inferno to sell out, you know, Count of Monte Cristo type shit. Like, people will eat up these old stories if you shine enough light on them. I'll have to double check. I don't think I've read Super Bunyan's profile. The translating the material profiles is always super slow. I really wish, speaking about the Western audience, I continue to really wish that Aniplex and Type Moon would release those over here in English. It would kill my wallet, I'm sure, because I bet those things are fucking... Actually, I don't know if they're hardcovers. So I have a couple of the CE... I have like one of the CE collections. No, I have two. I have both. No, I only have one. Sorry, I was mistaking what I got in there. Trying to read them on my shelf. I got one of them. That's a soft cover, but I'm pretty sure they're normally hardcovers, so my wallet would die. But I'd love to read the material books and put them on my shelf. But yeah, I think there was something there, but also there were times it was just weird, and they were kind of like just arguing about stuff. The actual payoff in the second half, where they decide to use the 8 Dog Warriors as like actors and do a little movie. They are softback? Okay, nice. That would save our wallets. But like doing that and then getting people to like dub over them, very funny. Like, that was super cute. But like I said, there were parts of that one that was weird to me. I don't know if I picked up on everything that story was trying to put down. Clothiers, though, super rad. You know, the idea of a Mordred cosplay book, super cool. And then yes, the Clothiers' second arc is like even more rad, where they're just like, Yeah, we're just gonna make like an edgy's 90s anime like OVA or like a real life. That's super cool. Seeing Vlad and Mordred hang out was super neat, and if she wasn't in Clothiers, I would probably be like more upset there wasn't more of her in the event, but I'm glad that Clothiers gives us like plenty of opportunity to have more Habetrot in this event. No, the Mordred stuff, the Clothiers is super cool. Yeah, no, that so much fun going on there. That was a great time. I love all that stuff. But yeah, we got plenty of Habetrot there. We got a little of her in other parts. You know, telling Morgan as part of the gag. Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. Yeah, so to the Briston Hotel, like I said, there were multiple summer callbacks in this. Obviously, you know, the hotel and the street and stuff like that are very strong callovers. But you know, the western side of the island, Briston Hotel and stuff like that, very funny. No, I think the Nudos got used just enough. Like, I don't think we're gonna see them back. You got to remember, Carnunos, when he originally appeared, was such a big deal. He's like, he has that massive like 3D rotating sprite. He's so huge in the story and like has such that big moment, you know, where it happens. Like, it's such an iconic thing that like bringing him back as a gag, I think works for the Lost Belt sequel stuff. So that was very fun. I don't think we're gonna use him as a gag again after this, which is good. And I want to talk about Oberon a little too, but we'll get back to that. But no, yeah. In case people didn't pick up on that, oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah, if you're saying that you think that if we use him again, we might get a little oversaturated, I think you're right. But I think this was just because it's literally the rule of threes, right? You do it once, you do it twice, and you're like, okay, and then you do it a third time, and you're like, all right, it's funny again. It's become funny. We're locked in. If you do it a fourth time, that will probably upset the rhythm. But no, if people didn't get it, I was actually kind of surprised because usually Gareth seems like she's the one who picks up on these things. But the reason why Gareth and Gawain were at Briston and were invited was because Morgan, who is still the Lost Belt Morgan, but still understands all of her like proper human history stuff, sent them invites. She also invited Mordred, her other child, but Mordred was blocked up with Clothiers. Also, I'm gonna be honest. Judging by how Mordred interacted with Arukas at Manny, I think if Mordred spent any time around Fairy Britain's Morgan, Mordred might explode. Also, Mordred might explode Baoban Shi. Anyway, but no, I'm glad for the audience. Gawain spelled it out very well when he said, if Geharis and Agravain were here, you might get it. Poor Geharis, also much like Abe no Seimei, still didn't have a design. I mean, him and Gareth are twins, so he'd just be Gareth but a dude, but still. And we know Agravain's summonable. I don't know. Listen, based on what we know of Agravain from Camelot, even if it was an alternate future of his mother, Agravain would not show up. His mother would invite him to summer vacation, and he would be like, not only no, but fuck you. Double no. I need Agravain to also meet Baoban Shi. I think Agravain would, like, burst into flames. And the reason why I specifically say Baoban Shi is because as Fairy Britain's Morgan's adopted daughter, like, Baoban is such a spoiled brat, whereas, like, all the rest of the original Orkney siblings have just so like, strained a relationship with their mother. You know, like, Mordred obviously being, like, tailor-made to overthrow Arthur and having a huge complex about all that stuff, which FGO has slowly been helping them get over. Yes, no, Lost Belt Morgan, like, understands everything that proper human history Morgan does as well, but she's also, like, has, like, 4,000 years of character development or whatever on top of it. So it's interesting. But like it like I said, I still really want there to actually roll that out there, because I think that an oops all Orkney team would be very funny. You know, Agravain is probably silver or black. Gawain is kind of like, you know, golden, maybe a little green. Gareth can be gold. The Iralupus is a little blue. Mordred's obviously red. I am glad that FGO keeps remembering to mention Gaheris. Because I've talked about this before. In the Arthurian canon, Gaheris is not always a guy. Sometimes it's just for Gawain, Agravain, Gareth, Mordred. Yeah, no, I've talked about this before. The way Nasu squared the circle of, like, there being, like, 3 Morgans is he literally made Morgan 3 people. If Gaheris has to be the pink lion, that would be very funny. You know, they've thrown out a 3-star before. I don't think it'll happen, but everybody, let's pray that our 3-star on the anniversary banner this year is Agravain. He finally gets to be summonable. That motherfucker has been dodging us. He showed up on the side of the Lion King once, and then that guy has been like not answering Caldea's calls. He's like, "Nope, I'm not dealing with this shit. You're not putting me back in, man. I'm not fucking around." No, the Spiritron dresses are really cool. I also want to say that's another thing, talking about the Lost Belt 6 like sequel stuff. That's really cool. There was a little bit of it in the end of Lost Belt 6, but this event also really had that great moment, like where the Fairy Knights actually got to interface with their proper human history counterparts. It was really great. Like, I love the idea of Baoban Shi, of all people, like getting her act together and like looking up to Tristan. And obviously, Barghest really appreciates Gawain, but also kind of had to, like, you know, find her own space. That was a really cute part of the climax. And Melu is just a fucking gremlin, an animal. She's great. She's just fucking around. Some people have like, questioned of, like, you know, oh, where's all this energy coming from Melusine? The unfortunate thing that I have to tell people is every servant is canonically summoned, and therefore all of their bond lines are hypothetically canon. So, like, when she appears in LB6, Melusine is, like, super obsessed with Aurora and has her relationship with Percival. The summoned Melusine starts to develop that codependency issue with the Master. So that's why she is kind of that way in Summer, is this is supposed to be the Chaldean Fairy Knight Lancelot, Tamlin Lancelot, you know, so, like, she's working on that. And I'm pretty sure it's the original Melu who has the lines about deciding to steal you from Morgan. So, like, this does track perfectly, and it's Summer, so everybody gets to be a little weird, a little wacky. Like, can you imagine actual LB6 Lost Belt King Morgan, like, fucking flubbing her Doomsday button? No, it's Summer. We're gonna be funny. It is interesting to me that she called herself Undine, which is another way you can say Undine, which, by the way, is all Paracelsus-based. Paracelsus came up with all that. Yeah, I thought it was base Melu has that line where she decides she's gonna take you for herself. She's really embracing her dragon energy. But her calling herself Undine makes perfect sense. Those are elementals of water that Paracelsus came up with, but they are kind of like tied to freshwater usually. They've got, after Paracelsus got looped into a lot of Germanic folklore and myths. So her being like, no, I hate the fucking ocean. I loved when she said blub blub, though. That was so choice. Honestly, the Earthman race is really good. That's another fucking callback to a previous summer, which I wasn't expecting, to the summer race event, with a lot of cameos in those story quests. So, like, all the LB6 stuff is super cool, super fun. Yeah, no, the Giant Chloe as the extra one very crazy, very funny. Also, by the way, chat, just a small note. This game says that regular Chloe and Summer Chloe are the same height. I do not believe this. I do not believe this shit. That it's the fucking tall full size Caster Da Vinci is supposed to be taller than Ryder Da Vinci, and it just not working because the sprites are fucked up. That shit don't fly. That's not correct. She looks like she's if both Chloes are the same height, then Summer Chloe like did something to her fucking spine, standing up straight. It's nonsense. But also that reminds me of a separate point. Well, so servants shouldn't grow up. They're summoned, you know. They're conjured familiars. I do think that there is a great gag there with the Tez's merchant booth. Also, great fucking moment. That guy, God, he shows up for like 5 minutes and he has such a presence. God, I'm so glad that we're putting Tezcatlipoca in our next summer. Actually, that's pretty good. Yeah, but servants shouldn't age. Like, there is the like quote unquote living human trait. And there are, like, some demi-servants. I actually don't remember. I don't know if Ilya, Chloe, and Miyu count as living humans. They might, because I think that's, like, one of the buffs in there. But, no. Yeah. That's why there's that gag about, you know, the fast-forward to your adult spirit origin transformation. So, like Summer Spiritron dress for Tezcatlipoca. I'm very excited to see him as a focal character in there. The way that, like, ascending your spirit graph is supposed to work is basically, normally the summoning process is flawed, so by feeding them, like, extra knowledge, extra materials, and, like, just doing magic stuff with them, our, like, servants are supposed to reach a higher state, a more pure saint graph, because, you know, every summoned servant is held back. Though, shout out to fucking Narita, of all people, when talking about Strange Fake, saying that, like, he thinks that the original 5th Holy Grail War is one of the strongest ever, and that every single servant in Strange Fake could get beat up by somebody on the original Fate Stay Night team. Shout out. Love that shit. A lot of people battleboard and power scale very high in Strange Fake, so I love him being like, no, the OGs are strong. Yeah, no, sometimes we just straight up change their spirit graph, so no. But that reminded me of a thing I was going to talk about, was that, another thing is, Lucky and I have mentioned this, but overall the production value of our events is getting higher and higher. This had that multiple aspect of that forced perspective stuff, you know, people in front and back, but also we had several little, like, animated interludes or, like, great background CGs. You know, the whole, like, factor of, like, there was like the Chloe sleeping sequence, there was the several wall murals. Yeah, I don't actually know which character that like Narita's thinking Medusa would defeat in Strange Fake, but I'm sure there are several. Obviously, this is a thing people don't like to remind themselves about, but Emiya's got his stonks are way up. But strictly speaking, Archer Emiya possesses all the same power as regular Shiro to defeat Gilgamesh. No, and that's not what Narita's saying. He's not saying everybody could solo everybody, but he's saying that what he said in the interview, I believe, is something to the effect of, he thought that every servant he made up for Strange Fake could be hard countered by another servant in the original Holy Grail War. So, like, and, you know, Strange Fake has been in dev for years, so, you know, take him with a grain of salt, but that's kind of, like, how he did. I would assume that Hippolyta would beat Medusa normally, but there's plenty of other cases where she could lose out. She might lose to Medea, for instance. Sasuke Kojiro is, like, basically anybody who's not Artoria at the sword loses. Like, there's plenty of duels he could go out there. I see a lot of people going to bat for Ku versus Alcides. I appreciate that. I actually think the character that's supposed to beat Alcides straight up is Artoria. I think Alcides can't stop an Excalibur. I think that gets him. I think he's still cooked. Once again, Excalibur's another thing that's like, that's another one that, like, the power scaling has been very inconsistent, but it's because Emiya is really dog shit at mana generation. Like, since Fate Stay Night, we've seen Excalibur do so much, up to and including the, like, prototype Excalibur blowing up Altera. That's, like, crazy shit. He can reverse Noble Phantasms, but I don't... it's the same rule that, like, normally Emiya is not supposed to be able to trace Excalibur, and, like, Gilgamesh doesn't have a copy of Excalibur in his vault. Excalibur is really old. Like, Excalibur is a divine construct that was specifically made to, like, reflect the light of the planet and bring hope. That also might actually be the case as well. It could be that Artoria beats Enkidu because Enkidu's Anima Elish is also the light of humanity, and so, like, that would not defeat Excalibur, because Excalibur can tie with Gil's Anima Elish. So, I don't know. There's a lot. It's an interesting thought experiment. But yeah, no, to cycle back to Summer. Summer's really great. I haven't mentioned it all because we got, sidetracked by going back over the Lost Belt stuff. But I also forgot to shout out to our last Dojin Circle, Mount Liang, great aspect. That's another thing that, like, them saying that Huyanzhou is the welfare summer, that's another super deserved summer callback. Can't wait to see how that one plays out, because this is also a really good event for her. I do think that, obviously, her introduction event was really good, but just her palling around with fucking Nine Dragon Ellie and Yang King in tow doing stuff was really good, and I almost felt like Mount Liang was almost like in a similar role to like how our circle with Jolter was in the original Servant Fez, because like so many times we would come back to them with like editing tips and like, you know, Chloe would supervise and stuff. Really good. Like, Huyen's real fun. We had a lot of great stuff there. Yes, no, the 100 Artorias was super cool. And then Huyanzhou writing a self-insert, like, romantic comedy with herself. Again, super deserved for her to get a summer alt. That's super cool. So, like, all the Dojin Circle stuff, really great. Love that we got so much Blackbeard. I love to see Blackbeard in events. And arguably, Blackbeard has a very deserved role in because that was, like, Blackbeard's original fucking interlude was Pirate Comiket. So, like, super deserved there. But he's a major character. And I do like that we still get a decent, like Kat was involved in this, you know, a little bit in the beginning. You know, we got a little bit of Benny Enma. Yes, no, Castoria's position as, like, being herself is very cool. Fucking... That little shit won't come home. It's because Oberon knows that my favorite Shakespeare play is so far out of all the productions I've seen is Midsummer Night. But fucking that guy being like, he shows the mysterious man of fairy is like, you know, he'll show up if you offer him an ice pop. I'm just being like, yo. And he's like, shit, I'm here. I do love that Oberon didn't want to call himself the Dark Fairy King. That weird dragonfly spirit is like that. And even Oberon is like, even in his edgy mode, Oberon is like, don't ever tell anybody you called me that. Never say that name again. Because, like, this is a really good role because, like, Oberon is simultaneously our antagonist and also helping us because, like, he doesn't, you know, he has a weird relationship with fiction. So, like, he's against the normalization committee, but also would probably be pro the Dojin Circle. But also still has bones to pick with Morgan about stuff, so he's just here to fuck around. But it's like, they get basically both versions of him, like Dayman, Nightman type shit. You know, during the day, even though Artoria's super upset with him because, Castoria's super upset because he stole her hoodie. He's, like, helpful, but even in his night mode, he's just like, man, I'm just here, man, to relax, okay? It's my day off. I didn't mean to accidentally give them the idea of the 3 enshrined deities. No, it's super, super good. And yes, Angel Blanco in chat saying, no, that was a super, super great moment, too, when he shows up in the bath to, like, help you out, and then you just, like, threaten him into being straight with you. And obviously, like I said, Nakanoriya is a great addition to the team, both as Yarandu and then obviously, like, remembering stuff later for herself. Like, very cool. I'm kind of curious to see what we're going to do with Longina later, because, like, this event is really about her, but also is, like, by definition, super vague, because she is kind of a, formless, distant entity that can't speak with people. But yeah, no, this summer was super great. Lots of really good production value. Obviously, the extra Nunoses and stuff like that. The extra scenes. So many great dialogue and gags. I'm glad to see it. So it's a pretty cool moment to bring back everything. And so we can really appreciate that stuff. No, Oberon's great. He's like our best frenemy because, like, I'm pretty sure that Caldea's Oberon doesn't necessarily hate our guts, but he's like, God, man, I don't want to be here. So, like, he's helpful, but he's helpful his own way because it's no fun for him if he just solves things. Shout out to Nasu, by the way, realizing that he made a mistake by putting all the proper human history Artoria Vortigern conflict in, like, the Garden of Avalon extra that was only in, like, the Blu-ray edition of Unlimited Bladeworks, I think, or some shit. Yeah, no, to talk about how we thematically wrap it all up, the mural was super peak, yeah. Like, just everybody being together, and, like, that kind of, like, our moment was like, no. We have to, we cannot remove conflict. That won't work. So we have to, like, show her that hope exists. You weren't here for this earlier, Axe, I think, but I talked about it a little. There is actually a thread of Type Moon and Fate fans of Nasu's works, who are against FGO. And I do think that we have to be careful because too much elaboration would require, like, taking authors from other works and, like, focusing them on stuff. But I do think that, like, Fate is a good chance for them to re-examine some stuff sometimes. It's always a question of, like, do we want to re-examine or do we want to expand out? And I think FGO does have a very long history of some very good, like, genuinely, I think that, like, the original Fate Zero collab event was, like, one of the few times Urobuchi wrote a straight-up positive ending because Nasu just, like, bullied him into doing it that way. Yes, I mentioned that earlier. We have been streaming for about an hour and a half, though, so I guess we won't do PvP on stream. I'll still do it later because I'm, like, I need to keep climbing ranks. Yeah, no. We've been doing pretty good, just jawing, just yapping. But yeah, Hollow Rexi's coming out, stuff like that. While we were talking about that earlier, I mentioned that, like I said, some people are kind of, like, anti-FGO in the community, but it is kind of the thing of, like, I want to be careful about that because Nasu says that specifically he is planning on stepping back from FGO, so it's like it would be cool for him to actually, like, bring up stuff that's not as elaborated on, but also, yeah, no, sorry, Axe, you sent me a tell in-game in Final Fantasy XIV. I literally got a Crystalline Conflict pop right after you sent that, so I could not respond for, like, 10 minutes. But no, you asked about Rival Wings, and I was going to say, people stopped playing it. Yeah, no, I've been doing like 3 or 4 crystalline conflict matches and then doing a frontline. It sucks that frontline's the same map for so many hours. It's killing me. But yeah, no, like I also wonder if maybe if he does step away from FGO, like don't always trust that mushroom. But like maybe he will re-release the like some of the stuff that is about kind of like Artoria and Vortigern's conflict, you know, in a different context. It was very rude what you just did. Sorry, I'm doing the extra quest for NP compies right now. Because like there is a lot of cool stuff out there, and FGO's nature is a really good opportunity for crossovers. Certainly, like FGO has done enough weird crossover only shit before, like including, you know, Archetype Earth and stuff. And we have more weird, wacky Nasu stuff for him to hit us with later. But yeah, we'll see what's up there. But yeah, no, overall, very positive aspects. This is definitely probably one of my, like, you know, top 5 summers, possibly top 3. It's hard, obviously, to beat out the original Servant Summerfest. That was like when we got a really strong summer, and this is a sequel. Like this Servant Summer Festival sequel, you know, the Halalatria. Sorry, it's really, I don't know why, it's really hard for me to say that one. But like, it's hard to rank that one on its own because it is both a sequel to a previous summer and a sequel to, like, without Lost Belt 6, I don't think this one hits the same way, you know? Like, very, very, very directly. It does not have the same vibe. So it's very critical. But it's a very strong event. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Talking about, like, Angel Blanco, like, people blame FGO for taking off Type Moon's creativity. I mean, it does. Like, this project is huge, and it does kind of, like, become, like, the fulcrum, the franchise, the fandom rotates around. But also, that means that all the good shit's in FGO, man. Like, it's here. The sauce is here, everybody. But yeah, the original Servant Summer Festival is, like, really good. So I think that's still my #1 summer. I obviously have had a lot of fun with other ones. The dinosaur one was, like, that one was real good. Because we got to hang out with Da Vinci and Blackbeard. And like I said, there's some killer music in that one. It's wild. But also there's an egg. That was weird. Oh, no, like that, like, my one complaint about FGO genuinely is just that, like, this event has really good writing. It's time-locked. Once it's done, there's no more reruns. Like, I really hope that there is eventually going to be, like, either maybe that's something we bring back once Nasu stops writing. Part 2 is we start rerunning more events again. But, like, to actually, like, read some of these events back would be, for people who missed it, would be really important. Because obviously that means that, like, eventually when FGO does shut off, right, which it will have to do, entropy exists, like, there's going to be so many, like, classic lores that people are just not going to be able to get anymore. Yeah, no, the Tsukihime remake took forever to fucking come out. Sorry. I somehow dropped my phone on my mic cord. So hopefully, let me double check the bars. Okay, yeah, it's still working, sorry. This is why my phone is a case, by the way, chat. It's very important. But yeah, hey, by the way, thanks for hanging out. We've been here for like almost like an hour 45. Thanks for hanging out on this weird, wacky Oops All Omega Day. Like I said, we'll figure out some more stuff. If you missed it earlier, like I said, Lucky's not feeling too well. He's got a health concern. We're sitting up for an extended period is bothering him. And like I said at the front of this, recording Let's Talk FGO normally takes like between 2 and 4 hours, so that's just no bueno right now. Obviously, like I said, feel free to send him your well wishes on our Discord or in the comments of this video or stuff later. Also, thank you. I tabbed back over to Discord to check, and you've posted the materials. Thank you for showing that. Once again, soft covers. That'd be great. Port that shit for me. Well, let's see. If there's any general stuff I want to talk about. I mean, like I said, you can see a few points that we may come back to in next week's show. Before Lucky had trouble sitting upright, we played a decent amount of Darktide, still having fun with that. I want to let you know, chat, that I've made an Ogren alt in 40k Darktide called Thug Smash Mo. And he's gonna smash him good, he is. So we're still playing that. I'm still working on Death Stranding 2, but I don't have anything to say about that. And I can't say much, especially today, because I have not played Death Stranding 2 all day because I am fucking crumping PvP in Final Fantasy XIV. I have to get it done before Tuesday. I'm literally going back to it after we're done here. I did put a note about Dan in here, but that's because Lucky finally caught up on it, so I won't say much about that, other than, hey, if you're not watching the new season of Dan, watch Dan. Why aren't you watching Dan, chat? I may, if people are around here sitting around, I may switch back over to the 14 chat and run a few. Like I said, if going through the FGO going through like this live news desk thing was too short, I was going to just stream 14 PVP, so I've got it pulled open, but I'm not doing that, I think, because like I said, we've gone for almost 2 hours just me yapping and talking back and forth with you, chat. Thanks for showing up. You know, I don't know how true this is. I did once hear that if you have like 10 or more CCV concurrent viewers, you're in the top 5%, and we're blocking in 18 right now. No, sorry, I know Lucky's super behind on his anime. My anime watching is super chaotic. Actually, I can talk about something that's not in my show notes, but I should mention to you. I was planning on bringing it up. Just on a whim, though, I was on Netflix, and I've seen some stuff there that I need to catch up on. They've got that show Leviathan, which is being, like, 3D animated and stuff. But completely out of nowhere, they showed trailers for, and I watched on Netflix Happy Gilmore 2. And actually, I liked it. I don't remember the first one super well, but I remember a decent number of those old-school Adam Sandler comedies, you know? Happy Gilmore, Little Nicky, like, lots of his weird old shit. And I gotta say, I laughed out loud a couple of times. Happy Gilmore 2 still hit. It's got, like, the visual gags and the comedy in it, and it's got a really good... No, I also cut back on my Crunchyroll sub recently. I'm not watching any anime that's not on Netflix or Amazon Prime right now. But no, like I said, Happy Gilmore 2 was actually, like, surprisingly funny and still kind of kept that like weird heart to it. So I would recommend checking it out if you have a couple hours. It's a funny, fun little time I had. But yeah, the only other thing to think about besides the other stuff is we're showing a lot of previews for Battlefield 6, and it's looking very positive out there. It's very interesting. Like we're back to like kind of like generic faceless classes. I think the minimum requirements are like very small. Like I think they say it's like a 30 gig install size. There will be a Battle Royale mode. Yeah, I watched the original Pantheon stocking. I haven't seen any of the new stuff. I don't even know what's on. Is it on Amazon? I've seen good things, but also I kind of feel like Pantheon... Those episodes are usually so, like, Monster of the Week, like, gag-based that, like, you could probably just, like, watch them all back in a binge. I've been a real big fan of SpongeBob games, but it's crazy that they got... what was it? Did they get... They got somebody to do the fucking announcement trailer, which was crazy. Like, I'm good for them having money. I know that cartoons are struggling right now. Fucking HBO Max just delisted all of their old-school Cartoon Network shows. Luckily, I do believe there are some people building some free internet archives because they are now, like, unlisted everywhere. But That sucks, man. It was Hasselhoff. I thought it was. I was like, that's pretty sick. Glad that guy's down to clown and do stuff. But yeah, no, the Battlefield 6 previews are really interesting. I'm not a super big Battlefield guy, but I've played a few of them. And usually they you know, mix campaign stuff and multiplayer stuff. So I'll keep an eye on that. I am kind of interested in you know, modern shooters because I've played a Call of Duty in my time. I've played some Battlefields, you know. So I want to see what they're cooking up over there. If it turns out to be good, I hope. Like, here's the thing, I hope it's good. I hope it's neat. But if it's not neat, you know, it's not going to ruin my day. NATO, the evil NATO. I mean, there's some stuff going on with, like, apparently it's going to have, like, kernel-level anti-cheat, which is a little ick. Means you can't play it on a Steam Deck even if it's small, but, you know, they're working. The other video game stuff is, like, while my Steam wishlist constantly grows, chat, the only other thing I'm thinking about is Rubik's Raptor. We're a big fan of his channel over on this channel. He's started a new Vintage Story playthrough with some new VODs he's been posting, and that's got me really itching to play Vintage Story again. I've created a new single-player world to make sure I remember what it is. We'll probably have to see about firing back up the server and getting back to that. But obviously, like I said, if Lucky's not feeling like sitting up, like, we're probably going to record Rain, you know, he's going to record Rain in his bed tomorrow, which, you know, we're tabletop gaming. That's not the worst thing in the world, you know. We'll figure it out. But, like, obviously that means we're not going to be sitting around for long sessions of Vintage Story, but Vintage Story is a really cool game. We streamed it a couple times if you don't know what it's about. It basically got its start as, like, a Minecraft mod to, like, change things up and add some more realistic systems. But I have a lot of fun with it. Lucky and I has a lot of fun with it. It's a game that by default is, I think, a little too overtuned to be like, what if Minecraft was, like, hardcore and realistic? But there's enough meat in the kind of interactivity and the tech of it. Like, you have to, like, nap your own flint to make stone tool heads and, like, you know, shape in molds or on an anvil your metal, like, tool heads. So it's, like, really cool. I mean, I basically what I think we're thinking of for the next server is kind of like, I don't think we're going to be, like, fully self-sustaining, but we're planning on more, like, little, like, what's the word? Kind of like manors. That's not the correct word I'm thinking of, but like our own little, like, territories and townships. I either using gears or I'll see if we can get a mod to, like, mint coins. I want there to be a little bit of, like, a simplified economic system so that, like, you don't have to do everything yourself. I know Lucky is kind of the person to be like, oh, I could figure out everything myself, but I also know Lucky is also the kind of guy to be like, if I don't have to figure this, like, if I don't have to do the work myself, I can focus on doing other complex stuff. Like, honestly, for, like, basic farming, that shouldn't be really too concerning. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can farm, and if not, you might just, like, gather, like, I think saplings is the right word. Cuttings of, like, berry bushes and stuff, and, like, you know, you'll gather meat just killing boars and bears that try to murder you in the woods. No, I might invent capitalism. The spoiler, chat. I may offer my services as a forgeman in the upcoming. I certainly learned how to do enough of that solo. If there's coin minting, I might mint the coins. If not, we can just trade gears. Rusty gears are already currency with merchants, so we can figure out like pricing amongst ourselves to, like, evenly trade stuff. We might straight up barter if that works, but, like, you will probably be able, especially if you can provide raw materials, you should probably be able to find somebody who can help you with making, like, certain cloths, you know, just gathering all the shit together, and certainly trading for food. And if not, like, God knows, Loth was our designated chef last Vintage Story server. God knows that, like, Loth was like logged out enough because he had like work shifts and shit that there were times when I would just be like, okay, I have my 1 bowl of Loth soup. I've drank all my soup. I will now live off, you know, random pine nuts and shit. Also, you know, if you need to feed yourself, while nutrition balance is important, depending on how stuff is there, like, you know, you might just live off like fishing. Like, I don't think we ever really bothered with like too hard with like trout lines and like fish traps and stuff. There's a lot of stuff I think we still didn't get into. And I know for a fact, like, we did not do story stuff as hardcore, and we want to do that more, which would require a little bit of cooperation. We need to like live through the story content of Vintage Story, but you know, that might actually pave the way for some of those higher level recipes. And we still need to look at our mod list. I think we want to slim down like our cooking mods. We had a little too much stuff from the cooking mod, but there might be other shit we want to look at. Apparently, like, in his server, I gotta double check if it's up to date with the versions of the game, but apparently the server that Rubik's Raptor's running right now and posting his VODs on has a fucking mod for railroads and dirigibles and shit. And I'm like, yo, I want to do that. I want to see if we can do that. Like coal-powered like steam trains, and like I think the airships run on like aqua vitae. They burn fucking ethanol. That could be interesting. That could be that higher level stuff, you know. And obviously, like, that would take us a while to get there. But I think that we learned a lot of our basics about like the Bronze Age shit. So, like I said, I've got a single player I need to boot up sometime and try out to see around there. But I think what we basically, the plan is, my idea for Vintage Story is, like, what I'd like to do is like we didn't come together enough as a village anyway, like to have kind of like the everybody has their own roles. Like, if we had a bigger population on the server, I would like us to have kind of like almost like a guild thing going on. Like, everybody has like kind of like certain trade guild rules, like very, very classic, very medieval. There's usually only like 6 of us tops. So instead, what I'd like is basically we don't worry about niche protection, and it's kind of just like we can come together and like share and trade resources as needed and provide for that. Because like if like you said, Axe, you're like, oh, I don't really want to farm, I don't mind cooking though, that can mean that like you might run into somebody like myself, like Lucky, like Aaron, who's kind of like who like is willing to grow crops and possibly grow excess crops, but doesn't want to fuck with cooking it, that you can like trade cooked goods. Town council and council meetings could be cool. I know that Lucky's interested in upping his architecture game, and I really like making some better stuff. I know that you don't. You're not super concerned with form over function, but you know, that's okay. Maybe we live in holes in the ground, you know. But yeah, like mostly us collaborating to like do story stuff, to hunt for like the major story maps and go through big ruins and stuff. Because apparently there's like blueprints you can get for like fucking gliders and shit, but it's all only doing story content in Vintage Story. So like that would be cool for us to actually like progress the game, not just progress our tech level. And you know, like, I don't want to say like communism, because like I don't think we're gonna necessarily be like literally pooling all our resources, but definitely like we can live as like a rural medieval commune. And certainly, you know, I'll be, you know, willing to do the beating the shit out of monsters work, you know. Give me a good sword and we'll get in there. Honestly, that meteoric iron blade you made me, Axe, was crazy good. Like, that and the black bronze armor was like, that was serious level shit. Like, we did some shit. That was a legendary sword. Like, I think genuinely I need to like probably crank myself my own like Heptazion armor next time. Just because, holy shit. Face tanking mooses is pretty good. But yeah, like I said, I've been watching the VODs, so I'm getting a little itch to Vintage Story. I need to like play. I think I need to play a little single player to make sure I remember what like my buttons and shit do, and like what mods we have installed. But we'll keep an eye out for that. I know Lucky's been feeling like he wanted to get back to VS as well. But obviously he's you know, laid out right now. So we won't be getting to that, but we can hope that we can get to that eventually. And we might stream some more of that. You know, we had a few check-ins in our streams and stuff. And like I said, we've still got our archives. Well, yeah. And I think that's the problem with the niche protection axe is, like, your iron stuff was cool, but we gave you shit because, like, you were our only town blacksmith for a while, and eventually we just made new forging setups so we didn't have to ask you for projects. So, like, there was a process, like, backlog of, like, hey, I could use nails and strips for, like, chests and shit, and you were like, okay, I'll get around to that eventually, but also I'm trying to smelt some more iron and stuff, you know? And, like, that's, I think, the thing we need to, like, we do need to be a little less centralized in our rules, because it was the same thing with, like, Loth, right? With, like, cooking. It was like, all right, Loth's our cook. When he is cooking, he's making some great stuff. You know, the soup he makes, the cakes he makes, all that stuff. Very good, very filling. He had, like, the stat buffs for it and everything. But then, like I said, Loth wouldn't log in for, like, a couple of days. He would be busy when we were playing, and it would be like, all right, we're just going back to eating fucking berries off bushes in the woods, and, like, I smoked some fucking boar meat for jerky. That's it. You know? I mean, also, funnily enough, talking about medieval guilds, that's something I did actually learn. Those guys were separate. Like, that was a separate guild. If you made, like, nails or other, like, general blacksmithing tools, you were a different guy than the armor and shield smith and then the sword maker, you know? I don't know if we got enough people for, like, full-blown heavy guild work, but I'd like to see, and maybe we'll do another round of recruiting off of our Discord server, our community. Like I said, check out our Vintage Story streams if you're interested. We streamed it a couple of times. All right, okay. Let's see. What is it? It's almost 9 o'clock. We've been going for about 2 hours. That was kind of like the vague goop that I had to talk about. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll wind on down, I think, here. For too longs. But thanks for listening in. Yeah, the XP skills mod was cool. Like I said, to sign off, you know, we did a little extra news desk. I didn't want too much of a backlog for Let's Talk FGO this week because next week, obviously, when we record the show, which should be, again, everything goes to order and everything's okay, should be recorded on a Friday, which would be hold on, checking my calendar. It's taking a really long time to pull up a calendar. Okay, next Friday will be the 8th. Okay. So that's when we should be recording. Tonight, obviously, they're doing the proper, like, 10th anniversary panel. So we'll hit that up. And probably need to do a pregame for the... Thank you for saying it, yes. Probably need to do the pregame for Wandjina then. Last-minute predictions for the stream. Yeah, I don't fucking know at this point. Like I said, my prayer bet that I want to talk about, the yoke I want to make is like I said, new 3-star servant. It'll finally be Agravain's time. But other than that, FGO is truly the thing that I cannot predict because I truly do not know what is up with them. You know? So, I guess we'll see tonight. We'll catch you on that. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Like I said, thanks for showing up and hanging out. It was decent. There was between 10 to 20 of you, which, again, allegedly I heard that's like top 5% of streamers if you have that many concurrent viewers. Which is crazy also for me just jawing and fucking showing you the show notes for, like, the past 2 hours. If you missed any of the earlier stream, this will be a VOD. This will be fully up there, so you can go back and watch it back. This is not going to be in the pod feed. This isn't going to go in the podcast playlist, and there will be no, like I said before, no audio upload to Patreon, because we're just freeballing the live stream. But thanks so much for tuning in. If you're part of the Final Fantasy XIV crew, the Crow Mafia, I will be in shortly. I have to take a little bio break. But I'll be back online 14 shortly, and we can maybe do some more PvP runs together. Sorry, I lost that word for a little bit. Sorry. I mean, I did a... Pretty sure we did an @ here for live now, but that's in the announcements phase. I probably should have said it in the patron chat as well to let them know. Yeah. I try not to go for an @ everyone too much, but we're going. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Fire up some likes, fire up some comments, like I said down below. We should be back from Mailbag next week. Pretty sure that will work, and if not, there'll be a new one. Again, we'll see Monday if Lucky feels like Death Stranding 1. I hope he does, because we want to, that we don't want that to take forever, but we'll see. And we'll keep on keeping on. All right. That's going to be it for me. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks so much, everybody. Good stream. Everybody, if you play JP and are rolling in 10th anniversary, good luck. If not, we'll figure that shit out in 2 years. And I hope you had a great time. All right. This is the end of Oops All Omega. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.